says I better get used to the caddies.
The Elephants, episode 5. Happy Elefante de Cinco. I'm happy to have you with me. I'm happy you're listening. Taking the time out of your busy day. You gotta have a busy day. We all have a busy day these days. I don't know if any of you saw the article in Yes Weekly about the school's new website being designed by some out-of-state firm. Apparently a bunch of local vendors are super upset about that. Understandable. As a state institution, it does make sense to spend the money in-state. I don't know that I particularly have a radical opinion about it, but I have to say that I've never really understood how the school spends its money, and the only thing that I can guess is that it's gotta be, like everything else, an overly complicated and difficult system that ends up with huge amounts of money to spend in certain places, and that's where it gets spent. I don't know. It was almost $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, which to me is quite the hefty sum to work on a website. Now, obviously, the website has got to be pretty awesome given that kind of price tag, but still, $500,000 worth of labor to create a digital website. You know, that's not a number that you hear very often associated with a task like that. Or maybe you do, and I'm just ignorant. I know I made my own website. It cost me nothing, and while it's just a blog and not very interactive, it's just hard to wrap your mind around $500,000 worth of labor. To me, it does seem unlikely that a skill such as website building these days has to be in abundance in the larger cities in the North Carolina state. I mean, it can't be so rare a skill that we have to go out of state for it. I don't know. But when it comes to stuff like this, where is your outlet as a concerned person, you know? The money is spent, the contract is signed. It's not up to anybody else other than the people at the school. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. There's not a lot you can do about it, but we all have our opinions, of course. As far as the winners of my little pun contest, I have this for you. I got a great one from Lindsay Sigler. Did you hear the news about the corduroy pillows? They're making headlines. Another from Gregory Matthews. An unemployed jester is nobody's fool. And finally, my friend Andy Rakich had a terrible fear of hurdles, but you know what? He got over it. Tim Tom FM. Timothy Thompson, or Tim Tom as he's known by those smart enough to figure out how much fun that is to say, is a 2013 graduate of the School of Drama and one of the nicest fellows I've met. Originally from Michigan, Tim Tom's performance aspirations actually began in the area of radio, which we had a very interesting chat about that last May, and I will share it with you now. Here's Tim Tom. I'm still under 20 people. So consider yourself early.
I'm very flattered. Like, I'm unimpressive, but I will try to. I will be. I'm very happy that to be included. So, you know.
Well, you're also an intelligent and articulate person, so it's nice to. I'm probably gonna have some real morons on this thing.
Oh, I'm like trying to be on my A game. Today was a tough day at work. I needed like 3. Today was like a 3 coffee day, and I'm still like, like, cause you have to get after a long. If you get after a long weekend where you're used to sleeping in, and my day starts at 6 a.m.
Oof.
Yeah. And you know, my boss schedules me sometimes for 9, 10, 11-hour shifts. I mean, that's fine. You can do shifts like that when you start later in the day, but if you're starting early in the morning, it's hard to keep the momentum. So. Right. You know, you deal with a very needy clientele, a majority of whom English is not a first language.
Tell me what you're doing again.
I sell cakes. It's a cake boutique, and a majority, I'd say 95% of our clientele are Asians.
90%, you said?
Yeah. And I'd say of that 90%, I'd say about 70 to 80% is English as a second language. Yeah.
You were brought up most of the way in Michigan, is that correct?
Yeah, Michigan. And it was, I didn't really explore theater and performing until I got into high school, and that seemed to be the thing I wanted to do. I went to a big high school, so there were a lot of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, 6,200 students total.
That's huge.
So there were a few theater programs. There was a radio station. So when I got there,
Wow.
I got to be on a radio station. I had my own radio show. And then I did theater. I couldn't play a musical
You
instrument.
had your
I'm not
own radio
coordinated.
show.
I
in
did.
High
It was
school?
called Radio and Technicolor. We won a couple of state awards. I won.
How many schools in Michigan have
There
radio
are
stations?
a few. There are 16. There's the MAB, the Michigan Association for Broadcasters, which award
my
universities. And then there's the MAEB, which is just on the high school level. And then there's something to John Drury, and I won a little scholarship through John
How
Drury.
did radio get started on like the educational? There's no
There i-
school radio in Texas.
Well, there might you double check that. I mean, there might be.
Yeah, I say it with like doubting
Yeah.
ignorance. I don't know. Of course I don't know, but I just remember being in high school and man, if that had been around, I would have been all over that shit.
It was great, but the thing you realize, and one thing I realized when I was making the choice of what I want to do, because I was like, oh great, I'll be a journalist. I'll do journalism. I was talking to a very important theater teacher who told me like, oh no, that's a throwaway degree. You want to get your BFA in theater. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said like, there are these programs, they're called conservatories, and she kind of, I was very lucky. I don't know what she was doing there. She went to Cal Arts in the 70s, but she got into Juilliard. There is no radio in the United States. I don't mean that jadedly. I mean, people listen to iPods.
Dude, that's why we're
Yeah.
doing this.
There's no, everything is syndicated. It's literally now 5 people in a room making switches and it's airing. You don't really have live programs.
Well, there's live podcasts.
There's live podcasts, yes.
Podcast is the new radio. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is if you wanted to make a living off of radio engineering, radio
Right.
broadcasting, journalism, you have these institutions like Specs Howard that every year, like, I don't know how many thousands of people are going into this very shrinking. And I remember
Yeah.
having this conversation a little bit with my dad. I'm like, well, I did this one thing in radio, and I felt like I conquered it as much as I wanted to, and I could still explore what I wanted to do creatively. And I auditioned for colleges, and I got into colleges, and I got into School of the Arts. And I remember it being, I remember School of the Arts. It was really funny because I gave the whole list. I was auditioning between 12 and 15 schools in Chicago. And I showed it to my teacher, and she was like, oh, what about this one school? There's a school in North Carolina, School of the Arts. Is it on your list? I was like, no. She went on the website, and she was like, you're stupid, put it on your list. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, what's one more? And I remember meeting the Bobs, and it was great. I left. I knew I was in.
You knew you were in when you left the room?
Yeah, I did. Being in Michigan, the job climate is not good at all. That's why I have 5 sisters. They're all kind of spread out across the U.S. I have a sister in Texas. I have one in Tennessee, one in North Carolina. There's me. I'm in New York now. The other 2 are in Michigan. One is attending Michigan State, my youngest sister. My mom is a teacher at a Catholic school. She teaches history. She used to teach religion. I think she just teaches history and literature to 7th and 8th graders. She was my teacher in 7th and 8th grade. We read To Kill a Mockingbird in her class.
Your
Dad,
mom was your teacher?
Yep.
For a
7th
whole
and 8th
year?
grade. She was...
2
I had,
years?
2 years. I took literature and religion
Dude, that's
class.
gotta suck.
No, I had such a... I liked the relationship I had with my mom because my mom was very strict with my sisters. She'd be like, no, it's Mrs. Thompson. And I'd be like, Mother. And it was so funny. Like, we'd have this
Sounds very Buster and
repartee.
Lucille.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed my time in 7th and 8th grade because I think that was when I was like,
That
I think
makes-
I
that
always...
makes you and only you in the world.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time in 7th and 8th grade and high school because I don't know, I think I started doing speech competitions that time, and then I found theater and radio.
It sounds like you've always just wanted to just be a personality of sorts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I watched a lot of David Letterman with my parents.
Yeah. Oh, you're a Letterman guy?
Oh, yeah, very much so. He has this, when he was on, and he was, like, very on some time ago. I'm not sure now. But he would do these silliest, darkest, most oddball things.
Oh, sure.
Very deadpan. And I just remember being so delighted by it.
Tim Tom currently lives in New York City and is doing the whole young actor thing and continuing his work as a prolific writer and a brilliant mind. He sends his love to his studio and all fellow NCSA pickles. Also very much worth mentioning this week is the announced retirement of drama acting teacher Matthew Bullock. Now, Matt Bullock is absolutely one of my all-time favorite teachers in the history of my education, and I cannot be alone in feeling that way. Matt is the kind of teacher that spends the extra time to get to know the little idiosyncrasies about his students that make them special, the things they're into, the things that light them on fire. And in order to do so, I would have to put him in the category of one of the single most well-read people I have met in my life. You name a book, a movie, a record, a piece of artwork, a poem, Matt's at least heard of it, if not read it more than once. In hopes of having you on soon, I say to you, Matt, and on behalf of all the students you've inspired, thank you. You're fucking great. Dave Thomas Brown loves the city of Winston-Salem so very much that he did the city the service of growing up here his entire life. He sought an education at NCSA for both high school and college drama, finally graduating in 2010. Before moving to and upon arriving in New York City, Dave supported himself as a headshot photographer, of which he still does today. Many of the headshots featured in the At the Elephants episode graphics are courtesy of Dave Thomas Brown. And speaking of graphics, he has contributed as a graphic artist to the Greg Proops podcast as well as yours truly. Dave recently garnered a huge amount of reception for his performance as JD in the off-Broadway Heathers the Musical, and his performance in Spring Awakening at the Signet Theater should not go unmentioned. Here's a chat I had with Dave back in May. Let's get to know this heartthrob, shall we? So, you are from Winston-Salem,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're recording?
Like born and raised? Well, we've been recording this whole time, but...
Oh, okay. Born and raised in Winston-Salem.
And,
Yeah. I was born in Greensboro at Moses Cone Hospital.
Moses Cone?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a great name for a hospital.
I think it's still there. I think it's stuck.
Great.
I think it's the same one.
Tell me more about the hospital.
It's sort of blurry for me. You asked where I was born.
Yeah, I did. I totally did.
You weren't really leading me.
Oh, come on, man. That was just a springboard. You were supposed to run with that. We were supposed to find out
I was born in
about all
Winston-Salem, North Carolina to 223. I just actually came upon like a copy of my birth certificate. My parents were 23 when they had me.
Your parents are the same age?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. They meet in like high school or something?
Yeah. They met in, they band at R.J. Reynolds High School in Winston.
So you are the product of the most romantically boring story ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had three children and
yeah, my dad played trumpet. My
two
mom
beautiful
played
daughters.
piccolo. My mom played piccolo or flute. Occasionally piccolo, I'm sure. And
Well, you learn one.
yeah.
Did they march together?
They did.
That's great, man.
No.
And they're exactly the same age? How different in age?
They are... Well, my dad was born in August of 64, and my mom was born in October of 64. So they're 2 months apart.
Oh, man. Wow, that just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I couldn't ever be with someone like exactly my age.
Really?
No, I don't think, because I've found myself to be emotionally and maturity-wise and like intelligently incompatible with women my own age.
Or older.
Oh God, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I think that's one of the reasons too that I struggled to date when I was younger, because I couldn't date anyone younger than me because there wasn't anybody.
Funny.
But yeah,
I didn't know you were like opposed to dating anyone your own
I mean,
age.
I'm not opposed on like some sort of like permanent level, other than the fact that I'm permanently with Rebecca. But yeah, no, I definitely, there was a point where I was like, yeah, that doesn't, I mean, and it wasn't even like I was saying no and pushing people away. It didn't come up a lot.
Right.
I didn't end up in situations where there was a mutual attraction between me and someone my own age, almost ever.
But you also probably aren't putting yourself into situations like in school where people are necessarily older than you. I guess
Well, I spent most of school being older than everybody.
that's true.
Not all of it, but most of it. Well, I was there and fat, and I didn't
don't
know
even
about
remember you fat.
it. It happened, though. That's how I... But well, because you didn't know me until, like, a year after I moved there.
That is also true.
You,
Well, because you're fat. I kept my respectful distance.
Until I reached a more socially acceptable
So you could
weight.
stand on a level playing field with me. Literally, so that you wouldn't sink into the field. I'm glad that's off my chest now.
Right. Well, I had to get a lot off my chest first. And my ass, legs, belly, and arms. But so you and I became friends.
He did.
You did elude me, though. I think I would say that you were, because you weren't part of the first, you weren't there for the first summer I was there.
Yeah.
After your second year.
True.
You were usually somewhere else.
Yeah, I was off and away in the summers usually.
Yeah.
Trying to work on something or working on something or
Yeah, but you felt off and away during the school year, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a private guy.
Totally. Well, I was for a while. Yeah. Sure, I'm a private guy.
You think of yourself as introverted or extroverted? I think you're a very interesting person on that question, is why I ask.
Yeah, I think that I'm
You know how I would put it? I would say that you're someone who has like two gears, whereas other people probably operate on like a part of the spectrum and hang out there most of the time. I think you can flip between like super fun party guy and then just go, all right, time for me to be in my room and work on a project for like 3 days and not talk to anybody.
Totally. Yeah. I think my mind's just always racing, or if I'm working on something, it's always sort of going to like default to come back to that. So like, am I private? I don't know if you can say that I'm private. I don't keep things from people.
Yeah, but you don't live your life for other people to know about.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And you're active in social media, but it's still not like, I don't feel like I have any kind of view into your private life through social media. I feel like I get to participate in like...
The things I want to share?
Well, not even just the things you want to share, but like the things that... I guess it's like you're one of the people who takes social media very much at what it is, which is like, yeah, everyone can see it.
Right, well, I think it has to be. I mean, I think it has to be a tool in that way. I mean, if I post a status and no one likes it in 2 minutes, I delete it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I know that if it's not liked in 2 minutes, I'm not that I'm gonna be like, oh, no one likes my stuff, I'm gonna like hide it. It's just that like it doesn't belong.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How long have you been taking people's headshots?
I guess I started freshman year of college, and I just sort of was realizing how ridiculously expensive headshots in New York City were to get your headshots done were just an unbelievable amount of money, just like $1,000, like more than $1,000, and I was just like, it's so silly. And I've always been someone that's like, if I can learn to do it, then I'm not going to pay someone else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also not only do that, but I want to find a way to make money at it.
Right.
Like for the most part, like
I've always felt
like
that
my lawn
way.
mowing business. Or
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I was a kid. Yeah. So I started freshman year, and I just started taking pictures of people, and I had sort of not a great camera, and then I always had like an eye for taking photography, like as a kid and stuff, but I didn't really think much of it. And then I was like, oh, I guess I can just start taking pictures, and I just started taking people's headshots, and I charged like $50 or something like that. Like once I really like
You
thought
had a
that I
really
was,
good camera?
I had a sort of a first generation Rebel, digital Rebel, and
I don't know what that means.
it's sort of like the lowest DSLR on the totem pole, which is like a detachable lens and a body, two separate things, and you can change the lens. Like that's what it's a digital digital lens. Oh, I can't remember what it stands for, but
That's fine.
Basically,
I understand what you mean. But like the move up from like the single bodied like digital camera
yeah.
to like one that you can change.
I always had like a film. I had a film camera when I was little that was like, which was an SLR, and then DSLR is just like digital. So I got a DSLR when I was a little older, and yeah, I just started taking pictures and really didn't charge people that much. And then as I got better over the years, I just sort of continued to take them, and I started to charge a little more and a little more, and then I got a better camera, and I charged a little more, and so it's all very gradual. But my intent was always just like,
And now are you pulling in like $2,000 for each one?
for each what?
For each session?
I charged $300 for a headshot session.
How long?
How long what?
How long is the session?
Oh, how long is the session? For an hour? So
What do you get for $300?
for $300 an hour, you get unlimited pictures. You get unlimited looks. You can change as many times as you
What
want.
does unlimited pictures mean? As opposed
Usually,
to
a lot of
what?
photographers will be like, "I'll give you 200. I'll snap the camera 200 times, and if you're not done by then shit's for you." And so I shoot till we're done. But for the most part, like I kind of do control like when we finish, because I can tell when people are getting exhausted, and I'm like, I think I've got what I need to see, and I know that my reputation. I usually end the shoot where I'm like, great, if these are the only pictures we take, I know that there's a ton of them in there. I mean, people always have more trouble picking out all the good pictures from my pictures than finding only one that works, which
Right.
I usually take as a pretty good compliment.
Uh-huh.
But then I'll edit 4 of them for free, and I give you all of the pictures on the same day, and you have full rights to all of them. And a lot of photographers have you buy the pictures off them, individual pictures, like instead of giving you all of them,
Yeah.
you pay the enormous sitting fee to take the pictures, and then you have to buy them on top. And I think that $1,000 for a headshot session it's a sin. It's like, actually, I really like vehemently think that it's like sin, because it does not cost a photographer, even though they're paying for space and stuff. It does not. It can't cost you $1,000, even
Right.
close to $1,000 to cover your expenses
Right.
per session. So I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, they're just like raking it in. I mean, they're like the big oil companies of headshot photographers.
New York in particular, or do you think
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta be that way in LA too, right?
And and that's not all of them. I'm not like the only affordable headshot photographer.
Right.
But
Dave can be seen as a young Alexander Hamilton at premiere stages in New Jersey in At Liberty Hall. My music guest this week, I'd like to welcome back the Blue-Eyed Betties, featuring Daniel Lamone, Sarah Hahn, and Ben Mackel. This song I'm going to share with you is actually a cover. The original was written by Kristen Andreasen and Megan Downs. I don't want to ruin the title of the song because when it does finally show up, it is quite charming, and I don't want to ruin that for you. So, but I will say the song won the 2006 John Lennon Songwriting Contest, which is an annual contest that gives out, 100 or more accolades for finalists, grand prize winners, and I believe a Song of the Year. But they have a children's category for which this song won the 2006 award. And it really is just charming. And I hope you appreciate the Blue-Eyed Betties cover. Look out for Ben and Daniel blurring the lines a little bit.
I went to see the doctor. I'd come down with the blues. She said that I can't cure you, but here's something you can do. Take out a piece of paper and go sit down for a while and draw a pretty picture of something that makes you smile. Well, I know what makes me happy. I didn't have to think for long, but when I tried to draw it, it always came out wrong. I had a box of 12, 48, and 64. Nowhere could I find that one shade I was looking for. I guess I realized should have come as no surprise. Crayon that doesn't make a color for your eyes. There is no way that I can possibly describe you. Crayon that doesn't make a color to draw my love.
Everybody get up.
At first I thought of green blue, but then I saw blue-green. But then again in bright light they look aquamarine. I think at night they're darker. I looked again for you. Saw gray and black and yellow walking after midnight blue. But hues of the deepest skies would be a compromise. Crayon that doesn't make a color for your eyes. There is no way that I can possibly describe you. Crayon that doesn't make a color to draw my love.
Spring green.
Spring green is much too yellow. Sea green is far too pale. Cornflower is way too mellow. So I'll try again and fail. There's no way I can capture the way you make me feel. One look from you is rapture, whether blue or green or teal. No color qualifies. That crayon's telling lies. Crayon that doesn't make a color. 2, 3. So sure I've got it now. But you wink and there's a twinkle in your eye, and still somehow I just can't get that sparkle those glitter crayons want. Maybe glow in the dark will get it right. Oh no, they don't. Mr. Crayola tried, but I'm left to fantasize. Crayola doesn't make a color for your eyes. There is no way that I can possibly describe. Crayola doesn't make a color to draw my love. Crayola doesn't make a Crayola doesn't make a color for your eyes. There is no way that I can possibly describe you. Crayola doesn't make a color to draw my love. No color to draw my love.
So that's Crayola Doesn't Make a Color for Your Eyes. I have to say, it's amazing, and it's an excellent demonstration of all of their musical talent. Daniel just shreds that banjo, Sarah on the violin. The harmonies are so crisp. It's beautiful. I love those guys. You keep an eye on them. Check out www.theblueeyedbetties.com for dates and times where you can see them jamming out. Well, that ought to do it, folks. That covers episode 5 from top to bottom, soup to nuts, and I'm super glad that you joined us and tuned in. I gotta say, we're getting over 100 listens on each episode. I think there's some of you actually, tuning into this, and for that, as always, I'm deeply appreciative. May the forces of evil become confused on the way to your home.
So I've been reading about nameless things. Don't ask me what they are. Nietzsche, Duck, Zara the Spoke. Boy, you have done it wrong.